Hello, everyone. Welcome to this session where we are decoding the new normal as regards to the Indian smartphone market. Back in 2019, there was a news that broke out about a mysterious virus originating from Wuhan in China. And that little virus actually took the entire world by storm. So much so that there is no precedent that existed in such a situation that can help normalize what people and businesses were expecting. And as a result, now as we stand, the world comes in terms of the new world order, where social distancing and masks are prerequisites of leading a healthy life. We are here trying to analyze the impact that these changes and these behavioral changes have really brought in the business scenario, and especially when it concerned about growth of any market. Today, we are specifically looking at the smartphone market in India and trying to understand what the new normal or the new world order actually means when it comes to the smartphone consumers in India. Like any other businesses, the smartphone sector in India has so many innovations take place in terms of addressing the new behavioral changes that have emerged, especially due to the pandemic. Today in this session, we will discuss these trends that have been emerging in the smartphone industry, and we will take a deep dive into analyzing what is driving business growth in the times that we really call the new normal. It's my honor to introduce our stellar panel today. I'm really fortunate to welcome Mr. Raghu Reddy, Chief Business Officer at Xiaomi India, Mr. Raghav Chitra, Marketing Lead at Poco India, Mr. Lloyd Matthias, Angel Investor and Business Strategist, and Mr. Rajesh Kurup, member of the Strategic Advisory Board at PredictiveView. So welcome, gentlemen, and thank you so much for helping us and our audiences understand the smartphone industry and the smartphone consumers in India better. So before we start, I would really want to come to Lloyd here and make an attempt to understand, how these multiple waves of this pandemic has really affected the smartphone category in India. While we are taking a look at new normal, what does new normal stand for the general consumer when it comes to smartphone market? So Lloyd, in your experience of working across brands and working across categories, what have you seen? What really means as the new world order for consumers?
But coming specifically into the business of smartphones, I think I would say three key things. I think one is this whole work from home, study from home has become huge, right? And therefore, for a lot of people, the phone is the primary device to communicate, right? I mean, a lot of us as office workers have laptops and desktops, but if you think of a typical family of four kids learning on school, both the spouses working, I think today's smartphone has become an important and prominent communication tool. The second, I think, is really the fact that it's also now the key kind of entertainment medium. Right? Today, we consume a whole lot of things. Earlier, entertainment largely meant TV and cinema. Today, a lot of us consume loads of entertainment on the smartphone, right? And, data prices have helped. So I think really it's become our key kind of entertainment medium. And lastly, I would say it's also become critical to commerce, right? Almost everything we can order online. There was a time when we all had our few preferences, but today, right from groceries to medicines to obviously other shopping items, I think it's become integral to commerce. So I think that has really been really critical, and that's where the smartphone industry has had a key role to play.
Great, thanks, Lloyd. I couldn't have asked for a better opening to this conversation, and I'll basically connect your answer to my next question to Raghu. So Raghu, we heard about the new kind of trends that have really emerged, right? After these series of pandemic rounds that we have really seen. For example, Lloyd mentioned about study from home, work from home. We have seen a splurge in the OTT category when it comes to content consumption, and obviously the commerce part of it. So how these three trends have really led to innovations when it comes to smartphone manufacturers, and basically from Xiaomi's point of view, how have you really gathered this intelligence, this data, and transformed it into your product plan?
Let me start by saying that for the overall smartphone industry, 2020 and 2021 have been quite tough purely from a supply chain standpoint, as you would be aware, and that's impacted the smartphone industry in a couple of ways. I think the first one is definitely, I think the multiple waves, I think, have changed the plans. I mean, more in the sense of the timelines of launches have definitely got delayed. But at an overall level, I think the supply chain was largely resilient. So we were still able to launch all the products that we intended to launch. So things got delayed, but things still got launched. The second thing that happened in this time frame is that because of the overall demand supply mismatch, there was an overall global chipset shortage, and you also saw a lot of component prices increasing as a result of that. Now, what's that led to is it's led to an uptick in the overall smartphone prices over the last 1.5 year. So these are challenges, and because of I think despite these challenges, I think Xiaomi as a smartphone brand continue to do well. I think we've been the number one smartphone brand for 4+ years and the number one smart TV brand for 3+ years. But I think coming back to your question, what's changed for the consumer and what's changed for us from a product standpoint? Lloyd was right in calling out that work from home and learn from home have become default for a lot of us. I think there are maybe a very few set of households which would have the ability to have laptops for their children and laptops to work, but majority of them would end up using smartphone as their device to get onto to work or get onto school or even to use as an entertainment device. So what's really changed is because people started using smartphones a lot more, their expectations from their smartphones also started going up. What we started seeing, I think, sometime from like H2 of 2020, late 2020, is that people started looking for a more powerful device. When I say more powerful device, a more powerful processor, a much faster charging speed, a much better display, or speakers, so that they're able to actually do everything that they want to do properly. Because of this shift, consumers then started coming out and started looking for more powerful devices, and that in turn has led to a significant growth in the 20 to 30K price segment and 30K plus kind of price segment, because these are price segments where you start getting a lot more powerful devices overall. And based on what we've just got to know, 2021, these segments have actually doubled over what was the number in 2020. And I think that's one major fallout of people doing more on their phones, because of which people are looking to buy more powerful devices, because of which your premium handset market in the 20K plus segment has grown by almost double. At Xiaomi, we started seeing offshoots of this behavior by the end of 2020, and in order to cater to this demand, under the Xiaomi sub-brand, we actually launched 6 new products in 2021, and that's helped us quadruple our numbers in 2021 compared to 2020.
So, I really want to come to Raghav here and, talk about the business side of things more, right? So we heard Raghu talk about, how the consumer behavior, change in consumer behavior has really led to innovations in the product side. One part that, Lloyd really touched upon was about the growth of the commerce or the e-commerce that we, really come to know it. Everything, everybody is ordering everything online. On the business part, right, and as a smartphone brand, from the business point of view, how have you seen the uptake of online sales for your brand in particular, and an overall industry, perspective as well? Because there were lesser store launches or lesser, footfalls in physical stores. Did you really see the online sales spike for your brand and the industry in particular?
We at Poco have a very interesting story, actually. We were actually born at the start of the pandemic 2 years ago, and we've been an online-only brand till date. All our growth and whatever success we've actually had till date can be fully attributed to all our marketing efforts only on online channels, right? That's all we've known, lived, and breathed. See, strategically, our core audience has always been, the 18 to 25-year-olds, basically the people who've been born and brought up with the internet, right? So we've basically focused on establishing a very strong presence in both in the digital world, actually, to be specific. And in many levels, I think that's all that really matters to these to this audience that we're catering to, at least. When it comes to growth, I think 2021 has been a stellar year, or as we call it, a mad year for us. In I think just under a year, we quickly rose to become the number 3 brand online. In Q1 of 2021, we actually became the fastest growing smartphone brand online with a 300% growth. We carried forward that momentum with the series of launches, innovative products that we brought in with key innovations that actually helped. And in Q2, we had actually had a growth of about 865% year on year, according to IDC. And the thing is, we attribute a large part of this success to a strategy that we've had, actually. We've always gone in with a lean, mean, and power-packed portfolio, a portfolio that's clean and fairly distributed across price bands. Unlike other brands, where there is a lot of overlap. Just to compare, we've launched about 5 phones last year, and some of our competitors last year alone have launched about 24 products. And if you look at it, that's about a phone every 2 weeks. And in the larger scheme of things, if you look at it, that's more than twice the number of phones actually we've launched in the last 2 years. We have about 4 series. We have a premium range called the F series. Then comes the X series, the M series, and the C series. And I think with this strategy, each of our products, most of our products across these series have sold more than 1 million devices each. And we've knocked off a lot of milestones along the way. So yes, this channel has worked for us, and we plan to continue investing and growing on these channels in years to come.
So Rajesh, we have seen the proliferance of online touch points when it comes to both consumers and businesses, from the business end as well, and from the marketing end as well, right? So what are the kind of questions that marketers or brand owners, when it comes to smartphone category, are really seeking when it comes to specific data points or intelligence for shaping up their marketing or product portfolio? How has this changed in the new normal?
In the last 2 years, there have been several challenges, and all of us have gone through that. And this has kind of impacted the way in which we gather intelligence, the way in which we convert those intelligence into insights, and the way in which we action them. Online is an important part of it. Online has proliferated, like Lloyd was saying, into being a central part of our life. Now, what does that mean today? It's not just education, entertainment, learning, work, but it's also doing the small chores that we thought earlier was done physically is now coming into the online part. Now, all of these leaves behind a huge footprint of data. Now, some of that data is utilized for performance marketing. Some of that is utilized for the top of the funnel marketing. But it can give you a lot more than that. And I think that's what has been the ask in the recent times, simply because the offline way of gathering that intelligence or gathering that information from consumer is increasingly coming under stress, given the lockdown scenario, the virus scenario, and so on and so forth. And that's why, if you look at a predictive view, they've been exploring this space very closely. Today, we have data from the retailers, transactional data. We have data from the consumers who buy those products. So we have data which is collected at the moment of truth when that transaction happens. We have another data that comes in from the passive apps that we have on the panel of consumers. And they tell us a lot about the kind of transactions, interactions, and the various activities he's doing on his phone. And all of this tell us about how the consumers are changing in this new normal. So things are going a lot. Each of the small facets are now becoming increasingly more. And we're able to see that because of the data. And that data tells us a lot about how we could possibly connect better?
Staying on to social media, social listening, influencers, and all that points that you mentioned, I really want to come to Raghu here and really talk about marketing here, right? So, how do you think has marketing really changed in the new normal? We're talking about all the new nuances that has emerged, right? As brand owners, how do you see a new wave of marketing techniques being used by you guys, and what are the kind of data sets that you really seek when it comes to marketing your products?
With the customers going digital, the biggest change has been the way in which we connect with our Xiaomi fans, customers. Pre-pandemic, we relied on physical launch events. We relied on physical Xiaomi fan meetups across different cities and retailer meetups to introduce new products and take feedback from them about the new products. But now, with everyone going online, we've also had to change our track to stay connected to our fans and consumers. We've started doing digital launches. All our launches since Feb of 2020 have been completely digital, which allows us to reach out to a lot many more people. And we've also grown. We've also figured out what works to help us get more more fans and more audience tuning into our launch events. We've also started doing online fan meetups. Initially it used to be very specific city by city, but now we're doing a pan-India fan meetups that allows us to talk about the newer launches and also actually take feedback about what they liked and what they did not like. Not just that, even our retail partners, they've also started using their own social network to talk about, to introduce the newer products in their own respective circles overall.
Raghav, I'll come to you here, right? So we're speaking about digital medium, and two things that really stood out when it comes to digital marketing, especially in the new normal that we are speaking, are social media marketing and more so on the influencer marketing part, right? What's your take on that, and how have you as a brand really experimented or are thinking of experimenting on that area? Basically, as a marketer, how do you assess this?
Being a young brand and not being on social media, I think, is a crime today, right? And we primarily use social media to bring our brand personality alive. Not trying focus too much on sale-driven communication, but be a little more human, bring our personality alive in a manner that's both entertaining and informative to our audience, right? We engage with them in a very fun, with very fun, quirky content, and it's delivered in a very tongue-in-cheek manner, right? We live in the age of memes, and tongue-in-cheek is how our consumers basically communicate with each other outside. So why should we be any different, right?
This really brings me to Lloyd here. Lloyd, as we come towards the end of the discussion, I really want to basically pick your brains on. You have seen marketing, right, across genres and across categories evolve in this country, right? You have been there, and done it yourself, basically. So how do you see the future, when it comes to marketing the smartphone category, right, evolving? Because we have heard our experts speak about social listening, influencer marketing, social media, digital, right? What are the new, what's the new direction in that way, basically?
In terms of consumer choices on smartphones, I think and some of the points both our colleagues Raghav and Raghu talked about. I think there's been a slightly different focus now for people in their choice of smartphones, right? One is really the increased focus on UX, right? Today, UX has become far more critical. Second, in a physical parameter, faster service turnaround, right? Right now, your smartphone is doing so much more. Can you afford to really have a breakdown that lasts for a day or two? Is that going to be serious? Thirdly, I think it's the fact that the smartphone is now becoming central to our existence, right? So do we have more powerful processors, better quality speakers, faster charging, bigger screens? How easy is it to kind of put in digital wallets and such like?
Thanks, Lloyd. Great point. And before I round today's discussion up, I really want to come to Rajesh here. Rajesh, this is a leading question basically. Lloyd mentions about how do you use technology and use tools to understand the consumer better, right?
Right.
Just wanted to have your opinion, right, on what really would shape up this understanding of the consumer of the smartphone market. As we say, it's the new normal. So what's the future like when it comes to consumer understanding in smartphone market?
Look at multi-stream data from actual transaction that has happened, data that can be collected with reasonable credibility and accuracy from the consumer in a primary way, data that can be built in and used to enrich the data that is collected through other context, and data from the enterprise's own system. And we need to increasingly rely upon modeling this data to create that single customer view or single consumer view. This is where I think a lot of energies will be spent.
On that note, I think, gentlemen, it's time. So we have just tried, to basically understand the consumers better. The consumers of the smartphone industry in India, right? What their likings are, what are they looking for when it comes to specifics of products, right? We have spoken about the marketing part as well, social listening, being one of the keywords of this hour now, and moving on to influencer marketing as well. I would like to really thank my panelists here, Raghav, Lloyd, Raghu, Rajesh. Thank you so much for taking out time and helping us and our audiences, better understand this market well. I'm sure we have just scratched the surface, and there is a, huge sea of knowledge that is lying ahead us. But that's for the next time. Until next time, stay tuned to ET Branding. Thank you so much.